our main speaker today is a very humble man. And because I want you to know more about him, I took the unusual step of inviting an outside expert to do the introduction. Many of you know Phyllis Gutierrez Kinney, and you may also know that she was born into a family of migrant farm workers. In fact, each of her 9 siblings was born in a different state. We're proud of the fact that she took root here in Washington and became a distinguished leader in our community. She's starting her 5th term, is that right? 5th term in the state legislature, where she chairs the Higher Education Committee and serves on the Commerce and Labor Committee and the Appropriations Committee. To me, all this is impressive, but the most impressive thing is she is the mother of 10 and the grandmother of 18. 19, okay. 20. So here to give our humble speaker the introduction that he truly deserves, please welcome Phyllis Gutierrez Kinney.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I just want to make sure you were awake. No. It is truly a pleasure and an honor to be here today and introduce your keynote speaker. And I want to say thank you to Bill Center for asking me. It's really an honor. Consul Jorge Madrazo was born and raised in Mexico City. He obtained his law degree from the Law School of the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico. He has had a very distinguished professional history, and I'm going to mention just a few of the things that he has accomplished. He was the advisor to the Attorney General of the Universidad, Minister of the Legislative Committee of the Mexico's University Board, and Dean of the University Symposium Organizing Commission. Mr. Madrazo was a member of the National Commission on the Indigenous Rights in Mexico in 1989. Later, in 1992, he was appointed General Inspector of the National Commission on Human Rights. And from 1993 to 1996, he was the chairman of the National Commission on Human Rights for Mexico, which is a very, very big commission defending the rights of all people. From December 1996 to November 2000, he was the Attorney General for Mexico. And on January 2001, President Vicente Fox appointed him to be Consul of Mexico and Alaska, Washington, all of Washington and Alaska. You know, wherever Consul Madrazo has been, he has left a true legacy of beliefs, which he instilled in his professional life as well as his social life. He has 3 children and a wife that are here, and he truly treasures them and certainly is very proud of them. But let me tell you what some of his beliefs are. He believes that as human beings, we all share a common humanity, that diversity is built on respect and appreciation of differences, that we must learn to use power with care and to avoid using it to harm or hinder the rights of others. His beliefs and values, I think, are applied in all that he does. And I have to tell you that Consul Madrazo is an extraordinary person, and many of you know him, and then you know that he does not take no for an answer, and that the phrase, "I can't do it," just doesn't sit well with him at all, because he believes that it can be done. And truly, that has been, during his 5-year tenure here, he has done so much for the community. I want to tell you, he's been instrumental in bringing an educational program for Mexican migrant students who live here in Washington State via satellite from Mexico and into our high schools. This program has been done in collaboration with the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction and the Mexican Office of Education in Mexico City. The agreement was signed, and it was very exciting, the conversation between our governor, Gregoire, and the President of Mexico via satellite, and where they agreed on the program, they agreed to sign the agreement, and this program truly, truly has helped many students learn high school diploma here in the state of Washington and in Alaska. And I want to end with this. He is a leader who has challenged many of us to create unity by celebrating diversity, to help people embrace differences until differences doesn't make a difference. He challenges young and old to pursue their dreams and make them a reality. For as he says, each person has the ability to make a difference, and he has made a difference. Please join me in welcoming our special guest speaker, Consul Jorge Madrazo.
Thank you very much, Phyllis, for those very warm words. I do not deserve that honor. I have always said that Phyllis Gutierrez Kenny was, is, and will be the most distinguished leaders and committed leaders for the Latino community in the Evergreen State. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Consul Generals from Japan and Korea, dear Rotarians, my first words are to thank President Bill Center for his kind invitation to speak at this luncheon. This is the second time that I have been afforded such privilege. Under the presidency of Ralph Monroe, I had the honor of speaking on this same stage about the meaning of the festivities of Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th. It was precisely the initiative of Ralph Monroe which permitted me to join this extraordinary Seattle No. 4 Rotary Club. Today, now that I'm concluding my assignment as Consul of Mexico in Seattle, a position that I have felt for almost 6 years, I want to stress my gratitude to all of you, dear Rotarians. One of the biggest privileges that I have had as Consul is precisely to become a Rotary member. I will soon stop being a Consul, but I hope that I never stop being a Rotarian, wherever my professional life take me. For me, this is a very special occasion, full of messages and symbols. On one hand, just 2 days ago was the 5th anniversary of the terrorist attacks in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. And on the other hand, in a couple of days, we will be celebrating the 196th anniversary of the proclamation of the independence of Mexico. I want to briefly refer to these such determining events for Americans and for Mexicans. In the first place, again, I express to the people and to the government of the United States of America in the jurisdiction of Washington State our sympathy, our solidarity, and our support from these attacks that constitute unspeakable violations of the fundamental rights of all citizens and inhabitants in this country and all over the world. As a neighbor to the United States, Mexico has joined in the strengthening the security of North America as a crucial instrument in the strategy against international terrorism. In March 2005, President Vicente Fox, United States President George Bush, and the Canadian Prime Minister signed the Security and Prosperity Partnership for North America. The abbreviation is SPP. The SPP is a collaborative partnership among the three nations to improve security in North America while promoting economic and social development. The terrorist attacks on the United States underscore the importance of cross-border cooperation for integrated, coordinated, and seamless security measures to protect the region from criminal acts. The SPP strives to meet these critical needs without hindering the legitimate flow of cross-border traffic of people and goods. SPP believes that security and prosperity are interdependent issues to improve the security and well-being of North Americans and foster economic growth in the region. SPP has worked to A, implement common border security and bioprotection strategies. B, enhance critical infrastructure protection and put into place an emergency response strategy. C, improve aviation and maritime security, combat transnational threats, and enhance intelligence partnerships. D, employ a border facilitation strategy to increase capacity and improve the legitimate flow of people and goods across our shared borders. On June 27, 2005, the SPP released the following plans. 1, establish an alien smuggler prosecutions program along the southwest border, building on Mexico-U.S. efforts to identify and prosecute human smugglers. 2, expanding infrastructure at Nogales, Arizona, expand roadways in Nogales with 2 new commercial lanes to allow for more efficient cross-border transport of goods. 3, support and promote implementation of the World Customs Organizations. Number 4, in the wake of the terrorist attacks on the U.S. in 2001, increase the exchange of intelligence information between government agencies on both sides of the Mexico-U.S. border. 5, support binational programs to ensure air travel is safe for citizens of both countries by sharing do-not-fly lists. 6, foster collaboration between the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Mexico security agencies to further reduce human trafficking across the border. SPP next steps will be: improve the screening of individuals and goods entering and leaving North America. Engage in real-time information sharing on high-risk individuals and cargo. Coordinate between governments and preparation for large-scale incidents. Enhance joint assessments of critical cross-border infrastructure and bolster existing border infrastructure. Improving maritime and aviation security. Commit to advise a single integrated global enrollment program for North American travelers who do not pose a security threat to travel by air, land, and sea. Furthermore, the comprehensive immigration reform that unfortunately still has not been passed in the United States should also be seen as a great instrument against terrorism. We understand that this country should know all of the foreigners that live within its borders. This is a right that all sovereign nations have. We understand that the only real way to have this information is through the regularization of those foreigners who have been living here without legal status, but who are not criminals, but rather people, good people, who came here to work very hard. Only through the registration of these undocumented people and by exclusion, it will be easy to recognize who they really are, who they can be, even potential enemies for this great nation. The immigrant regularization and a wide and ambitious guest worker program are proposals that will help Mexicans on one hand and the economy of the United States in the other. The mass media and Seattle newspapers have reflected these concerns of the apple growers of Washington that cannot find enough Mexican farm workers to harvest this year's crops. This is an enormous evidence of the importance of a guest worker program. Some growers in Yakima are asking themselves now, where are the Mexican farm workers? The answer is that many of them are hidden for the fear of the immigrant roundups that are happening in this state. And many more are stuck at the border, not able to cross due to the new mechanism implemented on the country's boundaries. Nobody questions the fact that Mexico needs to create more jobs to stop people from crossing and from leaving their towns and risking their lives in a trans-border adventure, which many times it costs them their lives. In the issue of creating these jobs, we need the United States, our neighbor, our ally, to invest more, and then it will be a win-win situation. Mexico will celebrate this September 16, not Cinco de Mayo, September 16, the 196th anniversary of the Independence Proclamation, certainly under difficult conditions. The results of the election on last July the 2nd are having serious consequences. The difference between the winning candidate and the one in second place was finally 233,000 votes from more than 41 million voters. The difference was less than half a percentage point. On September the 5th, the Electoral Federal Court of Mexico declared the candidate of the PAN, Mr. Felipe Calderón, president-elect. In his first statement under this position, Mr. Calderón identified three priorities for his administration: creating jobs, shoring up public safety, and improving the lives of poor people. In terms of our Constitution, the inauguration will take place on December the 1st. 6 years ago, in the United States, and in the state of Washington 2 years ago, there were very competitive elections. That is to say, my dear friends, you have experience in this type of processes, and you know how difficult it is to run it. Just as you were able to overcome these obstacles, Mexico will also overcome this difficult moment. That will strengthen our modern democracy. We will resolve our problems in exercising our independence that now we are celebrating precisely because we know to be independent means to be sovereign, to be free, and to resolve our own problems without intervention or interference of anyone. The trade and economic relationship between Mexico and the United States is very intense. Allow me to share with you some facts that prove this statement. In 2005, Mexico's import from U.S. reached $120 billion, up $78.4 billion from their level in 1993. Since NAFTA, U.S. sales to Mexico have grown at an annual average rate of 9%. In 2005, the exports to Mexico grew 8%. Mexico is an important customer of U.S. Among all countries in the world, in 2005, Mexico ranked as the second largest market for goods from U.S., up from the third in 1993, illustrating the impact of NAFTA in U.S. growing business. Mexico accounts for 13.3% of U.S. total exports. There were an estimated 814.84 thousand U.S. jobs dependent on exports of manufactured goods to Mexico in 2005. These jobs represent 5.7% of total U.S. manufacturing employment. You can't forget that the United States is the destination of 86.6% of total exports from Mexico. On the commercial relationship between my country and the state of Washington, I can affirm that this beautiful state has a very good trade partnership with Mexico. Those are some numbers that I can offer to you. In 2005, Mexico's imports from Washington reached $959 million, almost $1 billion, up $658 million from the level in 1993. Since NAFTA, Washington's sales to Mexico have grown at an annual average rate of 10%. But in 2005, the exports to Mexico grew 13%. The rate of growth of Washington's exports to Mexico is more than 8 times those to the rest of the world. Among all U.S. states, Washington ranked 21 as an exporter of goods to Mexico in 2005. Among all countries, in 2005, Mexico ranked as the 11th largest market for goods from Washington, up from the 20th in 1993, illustrating the impact of NAFTA in Washington growing business. The 5 principal lines of exportation from Washington to Mexico are transportation equipment, food products, agricultural products, paper, and computer and electronic products. It is very clear then that Mexicans not only buy many, many apples, but potatoes, pears, quinces, grapes, hops, powdered milk, fish, and beef. We also buy airplanes, paper, motors. Boeing, Microsoft, Costco, Weyerhaeuser, Alaska Airlines, Nintendo, and many more companies have been doing great in the Mexican markets. Mexico's presence in the Evergreen State is not only found in the commercial frame. In these 6 years, President Fox visited Washington State. On 2 different occasions, the governor of Michoacán visited Yakima. The governor of Jalisco came to Seattle on 3 occasions, and the governor of Baja California Sur has visited once. Members of the cabinet, like the secretaries of Health, Economy, Communications, and Transportations, have also been here. In 2002, when President Fox had to postpone his visit to Seattle due to problems with Congress, the Mexican delegation was headed by then Federal Representative Mr. Felipe Calderón. He is now President-elect. Following President Fox's visit last May, there have been 2 follow-up visits to honor the agreements that he made. The first delegation came to follow up on the trade agreements and to stimulate the Mexican apple growers of Eastern Washington. The second came to promote better ways to protect the labor rights of my fellow countrymen. Of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in these 6 years, 3 undersecretaries, the General Director for North America, and the Director of the Institute of Mexicans Abroad have visited us here in Seattle. Before this year's end, another 2 Mexican delegations will visit this state. One, to participate in the Forum on Prevention in the Making and Use of Methamphetamines, in cooperation with the Office of the State Attorney General, and another that hopes to establish a non-stop flight between Seattle and Mexico City. Mr. Gary Locke, as governor, visited Mexico in 2004 and met President Fox. Since that visit took place, Washington State opened an office for trade in Mexico City. This office is in full operation. Governor Gregoire has been officially invited to visit Mexico during the coming weeks, and it is hoped that a letter of intent be signed to better organize the cooperative efforts between Washington and Mexico. This will be the first agreement of this kind that will be signed by my country and any state of the Union. I will finish in 2 minutes. Mexican culture has been constantly present in Washington state during these past 6 years. Aside from the exhibition of Frida Kahlo and the Mexican modernists, we have been visited by painters and sculptors, writers and poets, musicians and dancers, social activists and distinguished scholars and justices. An academic exchange agreement between the National University of Mexico and Seattle University is in progress, and advancements have been made in the renewing of the agreement with the UW. Educators, journalists, students, community leaders, politicians, legislators, businessmen, all from Washington state have visited Mexico in the past 6 years, invited by the government of Mexico, with the goal of discussing openly the best way for a better collaboration. The programs of the government of Mexico for adult education and for young people as well are operating today in several school districts in Washington state. Today, Hispanics in the state of Washington, we are a little closer to each other, a little more united than 6 years ago. Next November 15, I will conclude my assignment as a Consul of Mexico in Seattle. I will always keep me the time that I have spent with you all who have enriched me both personally and professionally. I hope the best to you. May God bless all of you.
Thank you. I wish that we had time for questions, but we simply don't. I'm going to read a brief excerpt from a letter that Greg Nichols, our mayor, signed today. It says, "Your efforts to serve the Hispanic and Latino communities in the city and state will long be remembered and appreciated. Your work to improve the quality of life of immigrants has been tireless and productive. One of the legacies of your tenure here will be a high level of cooperation you have helped us achieve in the area of community safety and communications with law enforcement agencies. We have all benefited from your tenure in Seattle. Thanks for your leadership. The citizens of Seattle have gained a better appreciation of the art, culture, cuisine, and history of Mexico. And your experience as a legal scholar, your compassion for your compatriots, wherever they might reside, have made you an outstanding representative of your country. I wish you well. Sincerely, Greg Nichols, Mayor of Seattle." Thank you, Consul General.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, let me just say thanks to all of you for joining us today. We crammed a lot into the time. Thank you. Welcome, Colleen Brown. Thank you, Representative Phyllis Gutierrez Kennedy. Next week, September 20th, we will meet here at the Westin, where we will be addressed by Martin Abig, Professor and Director of the Dead Sea Scrolls Institute. Finally, today, pretty good rule number 11. You can't make someone else's choices. Don't let someone else make yours. Choose to be happy. See you next week. We are adjourned.
Seattle Rotary Online is made possible in part by a grant from First Choice Health, now providing return-to-work services that help get absent employees back to their jobs. Healthy employees produce healthy companies at First Choice Health. And by Enterprise Seattle. For over 35 years, Enterprise Seattle has provided client-based economic development services to businesses throughout King County and its 39 cities. More information on Enterprise Seattle and how they help businesses grow and prosper can be found at www.enterpriseseattle.org.